Hey everyone, so on this episode of Make It with Calvin, we're going to be talking about the design process that went into this, which is the latest version of the kayak grips that I tested in the previous video. Talk a little bit about that, how I went through the process, and all that good stuff. So let's dive into it. So first of all, something that did not get covered in the original video is this is what came with the kayak originally. It's just a piece of rubber on the aluminum tube. Now don't get me wrong, this definitely provides some kind of grip, but the problem is, for those who don't know, I have a condition where I lose circulation in my hands, also my feet, my extremities we'll say, but it predominantly makes itself known in my hands, and there's quite a few times where I've been doing things and I will literally have this death grip on an item when I do not need to, but I can't really feel anything in my hands, so automatically my brain goes, I'm going to hold on for dear life, and that very quickly tires me out and causes all kinds of problems. So coming up with something other than the smooth surface was definitely needed. Now, in the previous iterations that never made it on camera and probably should never be seen by anybody because they were just horrible, I'd come up with this grip design, but there were a lot of things that I don't know what I was thinking that day, but man, they were stupid. I believe I had 5 dimples on here, which made absolutely no sense whatsoever because your thumb and your index finger obviously will touch each other under normal circumstances, and that's what happens here. They kind of, do that. And I was like, oh yeah, let me make it 5. Duh. That didn't work. I also made the thing, I'm exaggerating it, but I made it huge. And when I asked my coworkers at my job, hey, do you mind giving me some feedback on the script design, being that we all do manual assembly work to some degree or another, I figured they were a great test platform for the ergonomics of something. Very quickly got some very good feedback called, why'd you make the bumps the way that you did? I like the bumps, but the number of them is off. That was almost like an instant duh when I saw it. And then the other thing that they had mentioned was don't make it as big because it's actually kind of fatiguing on your hands. Make it smaller. And that made sense because I won't lie, I have decently big hands and, other people don't. And I try to design these things to be as universal as possible. That being said, came back with this design, asked them, they thought it was a lot better. Nothing is going to be perfect, but I figured this is a lot better than that to begin with. So this is the design that you saw me testing out at Cable's Lake, which I literally did the day I was driving home from Carson City after completing the Iron Horse Rail Camp at the Railroad Museum. If you're into trains, I highly recommend looking into it, but I digress. And when I went out on the lake, the conditions were not that bad when I started out, but once I really started to get out there and got to the side where I got off the boat and enjoyed my MRE, the wind really picked up, and I'm talking it really picked up. It was gusting hard out there. And that being said, the grips genuinely did give me a lot more confidence when I was out there though, and I was really happy that I had them on here because there were quite a few times where I had to just drop my anchor, wait 5 minutes, wait for things to calm down, get a little more energy, get right back paddling again. And knowing that your grips were giving you a strong sense of I've got this was really nice. Sure, I get it. It's psychological, but let's face it, when you're trying to paddle hard and you feel like, you know what, I got a good grip on things, it's really a nice feeling. Now, the one difference I did make is I decided after that, you know what, let me actually make the grips a little bit longer so I have more flexibility with where I'm going to use the grips. If Danielle was to use it, if somebody else was to use it, I want them to be able to kind of, feel around and find what works for them. Sure, I know I could probably put a grip across the whole thing, but that's getting a little bit nuts and it makes it kind of hard to figure out what's a good grip range. So I figured this was good. My advice would be find out where your comfortable grip range is, set this up in the middle, and then you have a little bit of play from there. Now, one other thing that I've come up with since I was out on the lake, and this was inspired by the kayaking trip that Danielle and I did, where the infamous me flipping the kayak footage comes from, is this. It's very simple, but the whole concept behind it is you can attach a string to this, and then that string can be attached back to the boat. So just in case your kayak flips or you're getting out and the thing tips on the side or something, you don't have to worry about your oars floating away, never to be found again. This is simple, but I figure it's better safe than sorry. Now, when it comes to actually producing these, it's not very hard. I used a 0.6 nozzle on my Artillery Sidewinder X2, and I'll admit, the retraction settings might not have been perfect. The surface is a little bit rougher than it probably needs to be, but these are functional prints. I actually like that surface roughness because it gives a little more grip to it. And let's face it, these are going to be used. They're going to get abused. It doesn't really matter. Now, one other thing that I am working on is what's called a drip shield that goes on the oar end. That I'm still in the process of finalizing the design on, but that is all going to be included in a file package that you can purchase off my Etsy store, or if you're a Patreon member, certain levels get free access to these files and others that are up on there. The choice is yours, however you want to go about doing it, but I figure it's a good way to not only support the channel, show off what I can do, but also hopefully it inspires somebody else to want to maybe design their own stuff or take this design and modify it. What I am thinking you will probably be able to do is take this design and scale it up or down, probably up in the XY dimension, and be able to adjust this to fit the size of your oars, as I'm not sure what standard sizing is. Everybody's printer is a little bit different, but you can kind of dial and tune things from there. Now, when it comes to installing these, originally I used some soapy water, but I would actually recommend using something like high-proof alcohol. In this case, this is some 70% from the dollar store. The main reason why is one time when I was out paddling, some water got in there where the soapy water was. There was still enough residual soap residue that it actually started to slide around on the bar, and I'm going, what the? Oh man, not the soapy water. So the advantage of the alcohol is it flashes off pretty quickly, but you should be able to still slide this on here with a little bit of lubrication from it. I personally made these a nice tight fit. The idea being is once I put them on, I'm not planning on them coming off, and if I really need to take them off, I'll take a knife to them. So I hope you guys found this episode of Make It with Calvin interesting. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. I definitely have some more ideas in mind for the kayak. I am working on finalizing up the anchor project that I've been working on that I tested back when I was down at my parents' place. Coming up with some variations on that and things like that. If you guys have any other good kayak, suggestions for things to make for it, please let me know. I'm not saying I'm going to build them all, but I'm definitely curious what you guys have to say. So until then, I will see you guys next time, and I'm going to go back and finish up designing that drip shield because that thing's bugging me. All right, see you guys later.